Hey friends! My name is Desiree, aka Mama Friendly. I do all sorts of videos on my channel, cooking videos, vlogs, hauls, Disney content, a little bit of everything. So if any of that sounds like fun to you, I hope you will subscribe and join me on this YouTube adventure. Today's video is going to be a collab. It's a freezer meal prep collab, and it's hosted by Molly Purcell, and I'm merely Melissa. I'm going to have both their channels linked down below, and I'm also going to have a link to the playlist so that once you finished watching my video, you can see what all my friends made for their freezer meal preps. Now, if you're new to my channel, hi, welcome. And if you're an old friend, you already know I eat gluten and dairy free exclusively, so all of my recipe videos are gluten and dairy free. And this one is no different. For my freezer meal, I've decided that I'm going to try my very first lasagna. It's my very first gluten and dairy free lasagna, but it's also my very first lasagna, period. My husband is typically the lasagna maker around here and he makes incredible lasagna, but it's been a while because I eat gluten and dairy free. So I actually have a cookbook called Prep Cook Freeze, and it's a paleo meal planning cookbook. I'll have it linked down below in the description box in case you'd like to get it for yourself. I highly recommend it. The way that the cookbook is organized is by week, and so there's a shopping list for that whole week. So you're meant to spend an afternoon cooking up, prepping all these meals, freezing them, and that way throughout the week you can just pull them from the freezer and then you have dinner ready to go in no time. Because of the way that it's structured, if you're only cooking one recipe out of the cookbook like I am, it's a little hard to follow along, but I'm gonna do my best. Also, for this recipe in particular, she explains how to make 2 lasagnas, so 2 8x8 lasagnas. And the idea behind that is that one of them you will freeze indefinitely so that whenever you need a meal and you're not sure what to make for dinner and so on, you've got this freezer one that you can pull out and it's ready to go. And the other one would be to bake later on in the week so that you can have a meal at the ready. I'm only going to make one lasagna because my son does not eat lasagna at all, and my husband's probably not going to want to eat a gluten and dairy free one to be, realistic. So I'm going to show you what I'm actually cooking with, but the instructions and the ingredients that I'm going to tell you are going to be so that you can make your 2 lasagnas at once. So this is going to be a situation of do as I say and not as I do. As always, a little disclaimer, this is a real house with a real family living in it. Right now, one of our bearded dragons is going absolutely ape trying to reorganize his furniture in his enclosure. I don't know. So you might hear background noise is the thing. Hopefully that's okay. But now with all that being said, let me show you the ingredients that I'm working with. First of all, I'm going to be using these 8x8 pans because they have lids, and so I will have these linked down below as well, although you should be able to find these in pretty much any grocery store. You're going to need 2 boxes of these Capello's lasagna sheets. They're paleo, grain-free, gluten-free, etc. And they're honestly the only gluten-free lasagna sheets that I've found anyways, so that's what we're using, and I have them thawing out now while our oven preheats to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Next, I've got some red pepper flakes right there, and you're going to need 8 cups, or almost 2 liters, of a paleo-friendly marinara sauce. I'm using this brand because it's tasty and it's gluten and dairy free. For the meat part of our lasagna, we're going to need 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 yellow onion cut into a 1/2-inch dice. I'm going to use my little slap chopper thingamajig, and I will also have that linked down below. 2 pounds of ground beef, and either 4 cloves of garlic minced, or you can use 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, or you can use this jarred stuff right here, which is what I'm going to use. So all of that's going into the meat. For our cheese, we need 1 32-ounce container of Kite Hill non-dairy ricotta. I've got 16 ounces here because, like I said, I'm halving my recipe, but you need 32 ounces. 2 teaspoons of, oregano back there, dried oregano. 3 eggs, gently whisked. I'm only going to use 1 because it's kind of hard to have an egg. 2 teaspoons of salt and 1 teaspoon of black pepper. And lastly, 1 cup of basil torn. So you want fresh basil that you're going to tear up. So as I mentioned, the very first step is preheating your oven to 350 while you let your lasagna sheets kind of thaw out a bit from the freezer. And so while that's happening, I'm going to dice up my onion and I'm going to cook it up in some olive oil with the beef and the garlic. So I've got my pot here. Typically I'd brown my ground beef in like a skillet, but I want to make sure that the sauce I need to add is all going to fit, so that's why I'm using this kind of medium saucepan. I've got my olive oil in there. And once the olive oil heats up over medium heat, I'm going to add in my onion and the beef, and I'm just going to cook them both until the onion is translucent and the beef is browned. That should take about 10 minutes. Lastly, I'm going to add the garlic, and I'm only going to heat that through until it's fragrant, so another minute or two. I don't want to risk the garlic burning. Alright, my beef is browned, onions are translucent, the garlic's in here. The recipe does not say to drain the meat. If you wish to do it, by all means, I'm not going to stop you, but I'm going to follow the recipe exactly. Since it's my first time doing it, I tend to take more liberties once I'm a little more familiar with the recipe. So for right now, I'm going to leave it as is. And at this point, I'm going to add in my red pepper flake. This is entirely optional. Perhaps you're feeding kiddos that are not going to appreciate the spice. Perhaps you do not appreciate the spice. You could always decide to serve this alongside your lasagna so that if anybody does want a little more heat, they can add it themselves. But I do like heat, so I'm going to go ahead and add some right into the beef. And the next thing I'm going to do is put in my marinara sauce. So it was 4 cups total what I'm going to use. You need 8 cups if you're making the 2 lasagnas. So here's 1 cup right here that I had left over from another jar. And then this jar that I showed you is 3 cups total. It's 24 ounces. So this entire jar is going in. Just like that. I'm going to let this simmer on medium-low for about 20 minutes so that the sauce heats through and so all those flavors start to marry together. And while that is happening, I'm going to make my ricotta mixture. So I've got a separate bowl here, and I'm going to start with my egg, or eggs in your case, because they need to be whisked a little bit, and that becomes exponentially harder when there's other things in the bowl with them. Kiddo has joined us, by the way, with his iPad, so there's going to be a cacophony of noise in a minute. But that's fine, right? Because I already warned you about this being a real-life kitchen with a real-life family in it. So now, along with my egg, I'm going to combine my ricotta. Bloop. Bloop. This is actually my first time using this ricotta, or any ricotta. Like I said, I've never made a lasagna before, and I can't imagine what other uses you have for ricotta besides like cannoli maybe. Do you even use cannoli for that? No, that's mascarpone. Anyways. My first time using ricotta in general, but specifically this ricotta as well. However, if you're starting out dairy-free, Kite Hill is so good for their butter, their yogurt, their sour cream. Like, I cannot recommend their dairy-free products enough. Along with my ricotta and my egg, I'm going to put my dry oregano, my salt, and my pepper. This is a little noisy, so I'm going to turn the sound off for you. So I'm just going to mash all this together. The texture looks nice. Mash it all together into one cohesive texture. That looks very nice to me. So now I'm going to set this aside while we wait for our sauce and meat to finish melding together, as it were. While I'm doing that though, while I'm waiting, I'm going to go ahead and separate my trays out, and I'm going to spray one of them. You're going to spray 2 of them with some spray, Pam, what have you. I like using this avocado oil spray. This is my favorite brand, favorite type of like baking spray or cooking spray. Obviously you don't have to use this kind, that's what I'm using. I'm also going to bake this with a little bit of added support underneath. Again, you don't have to, you could choose not to. I just prefer this to this when I'm taking a hot thing out of the oven. I feel like this is likelier to buckle and potentially hurt me. So I'm already quite accident prone in the kitchen and in life in general, so anything I could do to kind of mitigate that, I'm gonna do. And basically what I'm gonna do once the sauce is ready to go is I'm gonna spread about half a cup of the sauce along the bottom of each of the dishes, right? Then I'm gonna arrange a layer of thawed noodles in each dish, followed by a layer of sauce, and then a few large dollops of my ricotta mixture. We're gonna repeat the layering pattern twice more. So it's gonna end up being 3 layers total, starting with your sauce at the bottom, but then it's gonna be pasta sauce, cheese, pasta sauce, cheese, pasta sauce, cheese. You're ending with cheese at the top. In our preheated oven at 350, we're gonna bake both of the lasagnas for 40 minutes. And once they're done baking, we're gonna remove them from the oven and we're going to allow them both to completely cool. Cover them both with plastic wrap as tightly as you can, and then also wrap them in aluminum foil. We're gonna put one in the refrigerator for our cook night, and we're gonna put the other in the freezer for reheat night. I'm going to be eating my lasagna fresh because I can't wait to taste it and tell you guys how it is. But according to the cookbook, on your cook night, so this is for the lasagna that you're keeping in your fridge, you're going to remove it from the fridge and let it stand at room temperature for 30 minutes while the oven is preheating to 350 again. You're going to cover it with aluminum foil and bake it in the oven for 20 minutes. So you're removing the plastic wrap, etc. from before and then just adding fresh aluminum foil or reuse it, I'm not going to tell. And we're going to bake it for 20 minutes. Then you're going to remove the foil and bake it again for an additional 5 to 10 minutes until it's heated through. Now, as far as the one you freeze, it's going to be the exact same process to reheat it, except you're going to want to take it out of the freezer the night before and let it thaw in the refrigerator overnight, and then you can just follow the exact same instructions I just gave you. Our pasta sauce is done simmering. Everything's pretty much ready to go, except we haven't used our basil yet. So I'm going to take a handful of basil here, and I'm just going to, without any rhyme or reason, shred this up into the sauce. Let me grab this bigger one here that I just kind of let fall in there. And we're going to mix it in. It'll wilt a little bit, but it'll still give it that fresh basil flavor that you just can't get from dried. So I'm very, very excited about this. This all smells so nice. That looks about right. So we're going to stir it in, turn off the heat, and we should be ready to assemble our lasagna. So we actually had some sauce left over, and the pasta was just enough for the pan, although in spite of the fact that it had been defrosting for quite a while, some bits of it were still stuck together. So I had to kind of Tetris the situation, but we made it work. We got our layers, and now it's ready for the oven. Is it gorgeous? Maybe not, but it looks like it's going to be amazing all the same. So I'm very excited to try this. I might cook it for a little over the 40 minutes. I'm thinking I might tack an extra 10 minutes onto it, just because this one I am eating fresh. I'm not going to reheat it. So maybe that's important. Maybe that extra time in the oven come reheat day is built into the situation. So in case it is, I'm going to cook mine now for 50 minutes, but if you're preparing yours for the fridge or the freezer, you're only going to cook for 40. I've just had a little sneak peek taste of just the sauce, that extra sauce. It is absurdly good. Like, that's not even fair. Okay, our lasagna should be ready. It's nice and bubbly. Looking good. There it is. So again, if we were refrigerating or freezing this, we would wait for it to cool down completely before doing anything else. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I can see a ton of steam coming off the top of this. For me though, I'm just gonna wait until it's cool enough to not absolutely rip my tongue out of my mouth if I try to bite into it. And I'm gonna give it a taste because I can't wait to see how this turned out. If the sauce is any indication, this is gonna be phenomenal. I know I mentioned I've never used this ricotta before, although I am a big fan of the brand. I've also never used the pasta before, so as new as this recipe or concept is to you, it's probably just about as new to me. It feels nice cutting through, I will tell you that much, but it also feels like it's going to be a little bit messy taking it out of here. Okay, that was nowhere near as messy as I expected it to be, honestly. And it is probably still a little bit too hot, but I can't wait. The pasta feels good. The pasta feels like it's going to be nice and al dente. And it's going to have a little bit of chew to it. Okay, that is so good. That was not hard at all. My husband makes it out to be such a mission every time he makes this, but that's actually really, really tasty, and it was not difficult whatsoever. This is absolutely going to become part of my rotation, even if I am the only one eating it. I guess it's a good thing it freezes well, huh? So you could actually even double the recipe, so you could have one fresh, have one refrigerated later in the week, have a couple in the freezer. This is great if you're doing like a meal train. Let's say somebody's recovering from an operation, or they've just had a baby and you want to set them up with some meals so that they don't have to worry about feeding themselves and their family while they're surviving the newborn stage. This is something that's great to prepare like that, so that you have one for yourself and one for a friend, or even a couple for a friend. So I'm a really big fan of these freezer meals. I'm super excited to see what everybody else made and to see if I can get inspiration to turn them gluten and dairy free as well. The recipes, not the people, although that would be cool too. But anyways, let me know if you're going to try this recipe for yourself. If you try it for yourself, come on back and let me know how you like it. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for being here and watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I hope you'll please give it a big thumbs up. I'd also love it if you would subscribe and click the notification bell, because I post at least 3 times a week and I wouldn't want you to miss a minute. Thanks so much again for watching. Bye!